Life is a long, sunlit path. We walk along it, holding hands with those we love, certain that the warmth will last forever. We make plans for tomorrow, for next year, for a lifetime. But sometimes, in a single terrifying moment, the sun blinks. The light vanishes without warning, plunging everything into an unimaginable darkness. This is what happened on June 12, 2025. For 241 souls aboard Air India Flight AI-171, and for countless others on the ground, the world changed in the time it takes to draw a breath. The flight from Ahmedabad to London was not just a journey across continents. It was a vessel carrying hopes, dreams, and futures. In just 33 seconds, it became a symbol of how fragile our most cherished plans truly are. We often believe that our destinies are written by a steady hand, that the path ahead is clear. We pack our bags with promises and expectations, thinking only of the destination. Dr. Komi Vyas and Dr. Pratik Joshi were doing just that. They were a family of doctors from Banswara, Rajasthan, leaving their home for a new professional life in the United Kingdom. With them were their 3 beautiful children. Each suitcase they packed contained more than just clothes. It held the excitement of a new school, the hope of better opportunities, and the shared dream of a brighter future. They were not just moving to a new country, they were building a new world for their family, one careful step at a time. The sun was shining so brightly on their plans. In our culture, we are taught that life and death are part of a great cycle. We perform rituals to honor those who have passed, believing it brings peace to their souls and closure to our hearts. Arjun Patolia, a 37-year-old widower, was returning to London after fulfilling such a sacred duty. He had traveled to Gujarat to immerse his beloved wife's ashes in a holy river, her final wish. His journey back was meant to be the start of a new chapter for him and his 2 young daughters, aged 4 and 8. He was returning to them as a father who had honored their mother's memory, ready to face the future. His heart must have been heavy with loss, yet filled with a sense of purpose and love for his little girls waiting for him at home. The bonds of family are the threads that hold our lives together. They stretch across oceans and generations, connecting us in love and in grief. Lawrence Christian, only 30 years old, knew this pain all too well. He was flying back to the UK from a journey of sorrow, having just attended his father's funeral in India. He was returning to his mother, his sister, and his grandmother, who were already navigating the deep waters of loss. His return was supposed to be a comfort, a sign that even in grief, life continues. He was the young man of the family, now tasked with being their pillar of strength. Little did anyone know that instead of one funeral, his family would soon have to plan another, compounding their sorrow in a way that feels too cruel to be real. Every journey begins with a dream. For Khushbu Rajpurohit, that dream was a life of love and companionship. At 21, she was a newlywed bride, her hands still adorned with the fading henna of her wedding day. She was flying to London to finally join her husband, a doctor she had not seen since they were married 6 months earlier. Her heart must have been fluttering with anticipation. She was leaving her childhood home behind, but she was flying toward her future. Every mile the plane traveled was a mile closer to her new life, to building a home, to turning the promise of her wedding vows into a daily reality. Her story was just beginning, a beautiful book with so many empty pages waiting to be filled with shared laughter and simple joys. For some, a journey is not about starting something new, but about returning to a life carefully built together. Pooja and Harshit Patel were one such couple. They had made a home for themselves in Leicester, UK, weaving their lives together with threads of shared experiences and mutual support. They had traveled back to their native Gujarat, perhaps to visit family, to reconnect with their roots, or to simply enjoy the familiar sights and sounds of home. Now, they were on their way back to their life in Leicester, returning to their jobs, their friends, and the routine they had created. They were together on that flight, as they were in life. Their love story was not one of dramatic beginnings, but of quiet, steady companionship. A journey they expected to continue for many years to come. When the sun blinks, it does not just extinguish one light, it casts a shadow over everything connected to it. The dreams of these 5 families and so many others were not just personal hopes. They were part of a larger tapestry of community and connection. The doctors were not just seeking a better life for themselves, but were also carrying the pride of their hometown. Arjun was not just a father, but a link between his children and their departed mother's memory. Lawrence was the future of his family, a symbol of continuity in the face of loss. Khushbu was the embodiment of a new beginning. Her union meant to join 2 families. Pooja and Harshit represented the success story of many who build lives abroad while keeping their traditions alive. In that single shocking moment, all these stories ended abruptly. The plane, a Boeing 787 Dreamliner, fell from the sky just seconds after takeoff, crashing into a residential area near the airport. It was a tragedy that unfolded in the blink of an eye, but will leave a scar for a lifetime. The dreams did not fade away, they were shattered. The unwritten chapters were not just left blank, they were torn from the book. The news reports spoke of a catastrophic failure, of investigations and black boxes. But for the families waiting, the only truth was an unbearable silence where a loved one's voice should have been. The sun had blinked, and in its place was a darkness that no explanation could ever illuminate. The pain of such a loss is not a single event. It is a long, echoing silence. It is the phone that will never ring, the front door that will never open, the familiar laughter that will never again fill a room. For the parents of Dr. Komi Vyas and Dr. Pratik Joshi, the grief is unimaginable. They did not just lose their children, they lost their grandchildren too. An entire branch of their family tree was severed in an instant. Instead of receiving happy phone calls from the UK about new schools and friends, they were left to identify charred remains through dental records. They were our future, a relative might have whispered, their voice trembling. They took all the light with them. The dream of seeing their family flourish abroad turned into a recurring nightmare. For Arjun Patolia's 2 little girls, the world has been broken twice. First, they lost their mother. Now their father, who was their anchor in a sea of grief, has been taken from them too. How do you explain to a 4-year-old and an 8-year-old that their daddy is never coming home? The promise of his return, the anticipation of his embrace, has been replaced by a permanent and profound absence. He had just performed the final rites for his wife, seeking peace for her soul. Now, his own journey is incomplete. His daughters are left with only memories, their childhood forever marked by a tragedy that stole both their parents. The sacred ritual he performed for his wife now feels like a heartbreaking prelude to his own sudden departure. In the Christian household in Britain, grief is layered upon grief. Lawrence's mother, sister, and grandmother were already mourning the loss of a husband and father. They were leaning on Lawrence, the young man who was supposed to help them heal. Now, they must face another funeral. The shock of his death is a cruel second wave that threatens to drown them. "We were just preparing to live without one," his mother might have said through tears. "How can we live without 2? The family home, already quiet with sorrow, is now filled with an even deeper stillness. The hope that he would carry the family forward has been extinguished, leaving behind a legacy of compounded loss that will be felt for generations. And what of Khushbu's husband, the young doctor waiting in London? He was preparing to welcome his bride, to start their life together. He was likely planning their first dinner, imagining her surprise at their new home. Instead of a joyful reunion at the airport, he received the most devastating news a person can hear. His life, which was so full of promise just hours before, is now a landscape of what-ifs. The future he had so carefully planned has been erased. His grief is the silent, lonely kind, mourning a life together that never even had the chance to begin. He is a widower before he ever truly got to be a husband, a pain so unique and sharp that words cannot capture its depth. When a tragedy of this magnitude strikes, it changes more than just individual families. It alters the very fabric of a community. The rituals that are meant to provide comfort in times of loss are themselves disrupted. Funerals are held for people whose bodies are identifiable only by DNA. Last rites are performed without the closure of a final goodbye. The traditional ways of mourning are tested when faced with a disaster so sudden and so absolute. The community gathers, they pray, they share stories, but a sense of bewilderment hangs in the air. How can something so full of life, a plane full of people, of stories, of dreams, simply vanish from the sky? It feels like a violation of the natural order of things. The legacy of the Air India crash is not in the twisted metal or the official investigation reports. It is in the empty chairs at family gatherings, the silent bedrooms, and the futures that will never unfold. It is in the children who will grow up without parents, the parents who will live out their days without their children, and the spouses who will walk alone. The sun, for these families, did not just blink. It set forever on a part of their world. They are left to navigate a new reality, one where the light is dimmer and the path forward is uncertain. They must learn to live with the ghosts of what could have been, with the constant quiet ache of dreams interrupted. Yet even in the deepest darkness, the human spirit seeks a flicker of light. The stories of those who were lost become a sacred inheritance. Families will keep their memories alive through photographs, anecdotes, and traditions. The love that Pooja and Harshit Patel shared will be remembered by their friends in Leicester. Dr. Vyas and Dr. Joshi's dedication to their profession will inspire others. Arjun's deep love for his wife and daughters will become a legend passed down to his children. Lawrence's commitment to his family will be their guiding star. Khushbu's hopeful spirit will be cherished by all who knew her. In this way, their stories do not truly end. They transform into a legacy of love and resilience. We look at the sky differently now. It is no longer just a vast expanse of blue. For the families of Flight AI-171, it is a reminder of that day the sun blinked. It is a memorial to the lives that were soaring toward a bright horizon, only to be pulled back into the shadows. Their loss teaches us a profound and difficult lesson, that life is precious and unpredictable. It reminds us to hold our loved ones a little tighter, to cherish the simple moments, and to live fully in the light while we have it. For we never know when the sun might blink for any of us, leaving behind only the stories of the dreams we carried.